I'm Chris Jackson, and this is Inside Out. Back in 2013, we ruffled a few feathers when we revealed how Durham County Council had sold a former country house and estate of a Prime Minister for a bargain basement price. Well, 2 weeks ago, the man who bought Windlestone Hall for just £250,000 took up residence in prison, as he was revealed as a serial fraudster. Now tonight, for the first time, we hear from the man himself and his mum, the first victim of his fraudulent career. This story has all the twists and turns of a classic British sitcom. Only this one is all true. From country pile to country pile, William Davenport aspired to be Lord of the Manor. Now the only place he can call home is behind bars, as he's been banged up for 6 years. He's left a 20-year trail of destruction in his wake and morphed from one country gent to another. So who is the real William Davenport? And this is where it all began, where wannabe Lord William was merely Bill the Builder, a bricklayer here on the Isle of Wight. And the first person he scammed was his own dear mother, the woman who christened him William Green. And she's kept her silence until now.
I don't trust anyone. It's very embarrassing too, because everybody knew that I loved Bill. And then what was worse was what was coming out with it. He owed everybody money.
I'd say he degraded her, and abuse, really. Financial abuse, certainly.
William lived here with his first wife and 3 kids, but he wanted more, much more. And to get it, he conned his mum to help him buy this swanky pad, Chale House. In all, Terry reckons her son swindled her out of about £300,000, including money he claimed would help him buy a French chateau.
We went over to France and it took me to this mansion. Oh, it was gorgeous. Like a dream, you know. How can people afford this? He said that he had a computer deal going with Richard Branson, which would get him 5 million or thereabouts. When I started to have doubts about it all, I actually wrote to Mr. Branson, and he didn't even know of Bill at all.
Like most of William's schemes, the chateau plan went south. He ran up huge debts and Chale House was repossessed. Instead of staying to face the music, William did a runner and left his mum homeless and broke.
I can't believe anyone could do that. I can't believe anyone can be so cruel.
How do you feel about Bill now? I mean, he's your own son.
Oh, I'm terribly cheated. But the big question I've always asked is why?
William turned his back on the building trade and tried his luck on the horses, but not content with a flutter on the 410 at Kempton, he had much bigger plans. He moved to Newmarket and bought the lease on the historic Egerton stud. He even sponsored a race offering a £16,000 prize for the winner. Needless to say, he didn't pay up and left the stables with a trail of debt. Rachel Pagones is a journalist now living in the States who exposed his short-lived career in the racing world.
It was all unraveling, even as he was still flying his banners and elaborating on his plans to expand. He already knew that the whole thing was coming undone. It was just that he seemed to be in complete denial of it.
William lasted just 6 months at Egerton. With unpaid bills, he was declared bankrupt. But this is a man who likes to play games, and he certainly knows all of the tricks. As William Green, he was linked to a mountain of debt. It's a card he can no longer play. But shuffle things up a bit, and he becomes William Carrington. A change of name by deed poll, and he can buy a new house. But it's not just any old gaff. This is Windlestone Hall in Scotland, bought for a cool £2.5 million. Bought by William Carrington, now posing as a wealthy American. But why limit yourself to one posh house when you can con your way to 2? This is Heritage Valley Farms in Alabama. Bigger, brasher, and with a price tag of $9 million. As before, William's debts caught up with him. He couldn't pay his bills, so he was thrown out of the American ranch and he was evicted from Windlestone Hall. The name Carrington was about as worthless as any joker in the pack. But he had another trick up his sleeve. This time, he's called William Davenport. What a card. Posing as a software tycoon, William Davenport first arrived on the scene in County Durham in 2011. And he set his greedy eyes on Windlestone Hall, and he probably couldn't believe his luck. Durham County Council was desperate to sell, and they let it go for a snip at 240k.
Are you then confident that this has been the best possible value for the council?
Sitting here 2013, I'm absolutely confident this is a good deal for the council.
But people were still suspicious. John Cumberland runs a scrapyard in Shildon, and he was astonished when William tried to flog him metal from the hall.
He came in with a long coat and the big hat on. He looked the part, mind. He really did look the part, but unfortunately, you know, if you want to talk the talk, you've got to walk the walk, and he's proved he just hasn't been able to do that.
And with the row over the bargain basement sale of the hall rumbling on, others were starting to smell a rat.
We received some information from a fraud investigator at Barclays Bank, and that took the investigation off in a completely different direction.
We've been given access to the police interviews with William Davenport, and the recordings are revealing about how desperate Durham County Council was to sell him the hall.
My initial offer was £1 because of the state of the property. His comment to that was that the value was between £1 and £1 million, and that he would come back to me with the council's view on that. He came back and said that the council would have to see a minimum of £250,000 out of the property.
In fact, the council was so keen to get William on board, it allowed him to move in for the first year without a penny changing hands. And it even gave him 20 grand to fix his boiler, money he in fact spent to make his fiddle work.
He used that to give the appearance of a wage coming from the sham company, and the bank statements from that wage he was able to use to obtain fraudulent mortgages.
As the interviews go on, even William gets confused about just who he is.
Do you know who Mr. William Carrington is?
No.
Right. Who is William Carrington?
It could have been me at the time.
It could have been you?
Yeah.
Why would you use the name William Carrington?
As a first name from Green, I used Carrington for a period of time.
Right. So you've never mentioned that before, so...
You haven't asked.
You could see the penny sort of dropping that if they know about Mr. Carrington, they know how many lies I've told.
So other than William Green,
yes,
William Carrington,
yes,
David Lloyd,
yes,
and William Davenport,
yes,
have you had any other names?
No.
He's better than Dick Emery, isn't he? He had more faces than Dick Emery. And I mean, Dick Emery was good, but this guy is brilliant.
So, confronted with his past, William threw in the towel. He pleaded guilty to multi-million-pound mortgage frauds. The judge told him he was a thoroughly greedy and dishonest man and sentenced him to 6 years.
Couldn't have been a better thing. It's pity it wasn't longer.
I don't think it's enough, really. I mean, he's taken away people's whole prospects of their lives have changed because of him.
So, should anyone else face the music over the strange saga of Windlestone Hall?
I think heads should roll in that you're talking of a building that's 40 semi-detached houses or around that size, together with 25 acres of land, and the value wasn't achieved.
Durham County Council declined to be interviewed, but in a statement told me the hall was sold in good faith, and by selling it when they did, to date they've saved £800,000 in maintenance costs.
They've got to make a movie out of this. This is something that Steven Spielberg should be doing, this not me. It's absolutely, it's just beyond comprehension. It's crazy.
It's up there with the likes of Catch Me If You Can and Wolf on Wall Street. What he's done, it's unbelievable.
But you did catch him.
We did catch him.
What have you learnt from all of this, do you think?
Not to have any more children.